Welcome to the next edition of Blazer Insider. Joining me today is Ramone Cooper, Associate AD for Academics and Student Services. We also are joined by Callaghan. Caitlin works with all of our student athletes in career development, also works in student services and academics. And we have Dr. Frank Messina. Dr. Messina is what's known in athletics as the faculty athletics rep. And he also serves as a professor in accounting at the College of Business. So welcome, everybody. And my name's Mark Ingram, and I am joining you today privately from my office as I walked in with a mask and everything that I needed to be compliant to get here today. So welcome, everybody, from home, and good to see all of you. Thanks for joining us. I want to start by asking each of you, it was March the 12th, and I was in Dallas or in Frisco, Texas, at our basketball tournament, and learned that the NCAA had canceled the basketball tournament. And as a group of athletic directors, we quickly did the same thing by canceling our basketball tournament, both men's and women's tournaments there in Frisco. And then shortly thereafter, within minutes, realized that we were going to be required to cancel all spring sports. I'll start with you, Ramone. Where were you when you heard about all that, and what was your reaction to all that?
Yes, Mark. So I was in the Bell Building, so at work on campus, and probably like many people, maybe disbelief is the best way to phrase it. Just kind of unreal. So I didn't really realize the magnitude of everything that was going on. Probably until you all returned from Texas, and I think that next Friday, you may remember we had kind of a senior staff meeting, and I was actually supposed to be off that Friday, so that's why I remember it vividly, because you had me come in on my off day for what was obviously a very important meeting now, and I thought that it was going to end with the meeting at 9, but we actually ended up having a second meeting at 4, so I spent the entire day in the office that Friday leading the spring break, and that's how I knew things were getting very serious, and that what we knew as normal and regular was about to change very quickly.
Yeah, no doubt. And I remember we met and we talked. I think that was the same meeting where we had somebody from risk management on campus come in and talk to us about what the coronavirus was and basics. But I think they've sure changed a lot in a hurry, haven't they?
They have, indeed.
Yeah, Caitlin, tell me about you. What were you doing, and how did you hear about it?
It was interesting because that Wednesday beforehand, I had a friend in town. He's an administrator at Colorado Mesa, and he was in town for the Division II track and field at the Crossplex.
Okay.
And we got lunch that day, and we were just talking about it, and it's not going to affect sports. Everything's going to be fine. And that was just the Wednesday before. And it's just incredible to me how fast it escalated from Wednesday to Friday. And I was in Aaron Brady's office, and we were just chatting about what's this going to look like. And Michael Derringer, our compliance director, came down and told us. And I mean, when Michael Derringer comes down to our office, it's normally like, what's happening? What's going on? He comes down few and far between.
Full disclosure, Michael's a good guy.
Oh, he's great. He's great. But when he comes down, it normally means business. And it was. And I won't forget that.
Yeah. Well, I know that the news hit our student athletes hard, and Frank, you being a professor in accounting, and you're over in the brand new business building, which is beautiful, of course, and right there next to our football complex and across from where both Ramone and Caitlin work, right across the parking lot. What about you, and how did you learn about all this, and what was the communication like within the College of Business and the faculty? How did you hear about it?
Well, like you said, we were starting to get some information on what COVID was, and I was finishing up a 7-week course, and had just completed my grades, and wow, I got like on Twitter or something from the Ncaa had just canceled the men's basketball tournament, and I mean, no discussion, no anything. It just kind of blew me away. And I went from being a professor worried about what was going to happen right on campus to all of a sudden going, wow, this is big. And the reason I know it was big is Mark, as you know, is the NCAA pretty much gets the vast majority of their money from the basketball tournament. So to me, being a county professor, it sort of shocked me, like, hey, wait a minute, what's going on here? What's going to happen? And we know what's beginning to happen. But ultimately, I was shocked. And then the reality began to set in, just as Ramone and Caitlin said, that this is beyond real. This is wow. What's going to happen to our students? What's going to happen in the school? What's going to happen to our university? And for me as faculty athletic reps, what's going to happen? Because I was about to be heading to Frisco, Texas, too. So that was going to be an interesting scenario. And it was literally, when you say like a snowball rolling down a hill, everything hit us all at one time. It was tough to take in, Mark, to be honest.
I'm curious to know, were there, did you interact with any of our general student population? And, I know that all students were asked, including student athletes, but all students were asked, they were going for spring break. They were told to just take what they had to have in case they needed to work from home for a period of time, in case they needed to do some distance learning for a short term, that they would have all their school materials, their books and computers and whatever else they might need. And who would have thought?
As most good students would do. Yeah, as most good students would do.
Yeah.
The ones that I saw in the school were heading out of town. They were going home. They were going to their families. They were taking what they could, and they were getting. I think from our standpoint, I want people out there to realize in athletics is we got a lot of international students at UAB, but we also have a lot of international student athletes. And that was a tough scenario of what are they going to do and what's going to happen. And boy, before you know it, everything starts. Not only is Conference USA tournament canceled, and then the spring sports announcements, and then the students we're worried. I mean, you're sort of helpless as a professor and to sit there and say what's going to happen. But as I said to every one of them, we will work this out. We can get through this. It's not a big deal. The faculty are great at UAB. You will not have major issues. We'll get it squared away. And the toughest thing for us, to be honest, is a lot of the faculty who teach in classrooms within just a few days, if you sort of count spring break, had to be up and running online. So that was an interesting scenario, and the stories are been interesting.
Yeah, no doubt. Caitlin, I want to come back to you, and I know that all of our academics folks, and I'll get to you as well, Ramone, have been working with our student athletes on trying to help them through their distance learning. Can you share with everybody which teams you work with and how that has gone so far?
Yeah, I work with indoor volleyball, beach volleyball, men's and women's tennis, and bowling from an academic standpoint. And what we've been doing is having either weekly or twice a week meetings with our student athletes on Zoom, FaceTime, or phone calls, especially our at-risk students. I was trying to meet with them because finals were last week, was twice a week. And grade reports to our coaches on Fridays. And I think the number one thing is that we had to communicate more than ever. And it's something that was challenging for our staff, but I think we stepped up big time because we are a very organized staff. And I think everyone was able to really use their strengths and communicate and shine during this time. I think they did a fantastic job with the leadership of Ramone.
Well, I couldn't agree more. I mean, our academic staff, I know, has been working overtime and as much or more than anybody during this time to make sure that our student athletes, understand even how to connect through Zoom. That was all new to most of us, really. And in fact, I'm not sure I had ever done a Zoom meeting prior to this. I might have, but I don't recall it. And now I do a few every day. So, understanding that with the student athletes, and again, making sure that if they needed a tutor, that they're getting a tutor, and that being done properly and within compliance and so forth. I agree wholeheartedly. I know that the academic staff has done a tremendous job. Can you share maybe what has been the biggest challenge for the students, Caitlin, the ones that you've that you've met with? And of course, we're lucky at UAB that we have so many of our we have 400 student athletes, and nearly 300 of them every year have over a 3.0. So we've got a great group of students in our student athlete population. But what's been the biggest challenge for them so far?
Mm-hmm. Well, specifically with the student athletes I work with, one thing that sticks out to me, and I've told Ramone this, and I've told my staff this, or our staff, is that I think it's the lack of structure and having to make their own schedule and schedule time specifically for each class or for their homework. I had a couple student athletes call me, and they were the ones that reached out to me saying, Caitlin, I need help with this structure. Can you schedule 4 hours each day where you check in on me in the beginning of the 4 hours and at the end, and make sure I was sitting there doing my work? Yeah. And that's not every student athlete. Those were actually some of my highest achieving student athletes. So I think it was a lot of the structure that they didn't have anymore. So I think that's one thing that student athletes across the board might have struggled with a lot. And Ramone might be able to add some other input too.
Well, and I'll just say that I think that Caitlin is true for everybody at home. I mean, I think every adult in this country that is used to getting up and going to work and having the structure in their life that they go to work and they do certain things, and there's a pattern of which meetings are on which days or what appointments that they might have, and whatever their daily work life looks like has been completely upended. And if they're trying to work from home, that is, I mean, I can tell you, with 4 children myself in the house and 2 dogs and a wife, work at home is different, and finding quiet places, which is why I'm at the office today doing this, to make sure that there wasn't dogs barking and leaf blowers around me and all this kind of thing somewhere across the street, that kind of thing. It's hard to do. And yeah, that structure has been difficult, I think, on everybody.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
I genuinely had a student athlete not show up to a tutor appointment, and they were so upset because they forgot what day it was. Like, I 100% did not realize it was Thursday. I am so sorry. And, they weren't trying to, get one past me. They forgot. Yeah,
I think that's legitimate. And, not to make light of, the situation that we're all dealing with. That's certainly not my intention. But, every day kind of feels like a Saturday. There's not, because we're not going in, every day sort of feels like the same day. Every day's a Tuesday, every day's a Saturday, whatever pick the day, it's all the same. And because I don't feel like I'm working any less on Saturday and Sunday than I am on Wednesday. So it's interesting for sure. What about you, Ramone? I know that you work with football. Share with everybody, the sports you work with, and I know you're leading the entire department, but what has work life been like for you?
Yeah, I think Caitlin kind of touched on it. So, from an administrator's level, I had to rethink about what we do and how we do it, and how can we mirror that from, a remote or virtual setting. And so that's what kind of led to, when I started a year ago, one of the things that I immediately wanted to do was, really kind of revisit how we administer support to our student athletes. And so we came up with this tiering system, which allowed us to kind of identify which of our students are at risk, at any point during the semester or academic year. And so that came into play and came in handy, I think, this time around, because when we looked at supporting our students, we revisited that tier system, and we started to devise plans for that most critical group first, being sure that, we had virtual appointments set up from, Caitlin touched on the twice a week counselor check-ins. We also want to be sure that they had tutoring set up and in place. And then we had to think about, well, there's another set of student athletes, Caitlin also touched on it, our higher achieving students, and we want to make sure that they're not lost as well. And so what does the communication look like to them? Because now they can't just come and go into our office as they please. And so how do we make ourselves available, and kind of working through some of those challenges? So that piece was interesting, I think. And then you fast forward a couple of weeks into it, and then the university looks to try to ease the burden, if you will, on some of these students by creating this pass-fail election, which allows all students, not just student athletes. So I know Frank probably dealt with it as well, but it allowed all students to no longer receive a standard letter grade, but just a grade of a P or an F, so that they could potentially, salvage their GPA. And then it took it a step further and then added full-term withdrawals from any course. And so Yeah. So now you can withdraw from a course up until the last day of class. You can change the standard letter grade. And so I think what's different from us, from what advisors on campus face is our student athletes also have to abide by NCAA rules for progressing towards their degree, as well as the university's rules. And so that then led to me having to be in constant communication with our registrar, our vice provost, as to what our process will look like, really from a logistical standpoint. Our student athletes can't go in and elect it in the same manner in which a general student would. And so, working with IT, working with those campus partners to really figure that out, and then training and coaching up the staff on what it looks like so that they can go in and disseminate that out to their students, the coaches. And so, very busy, I think, from an administrative standpoint, for sure. And you talk about, teams, obviously in my role too, I'm very much involved in the academic support, with our football program, as well as kind of our men's basketball program, and touching those two programs specifically. And, I think the schedule piece is really what's interesting. You've already talked about it. Caitlin's talked about the regiment and, that we all have, and the structure that's in place when we're on campus. Well, now I think, students are staying up later. And so they're at night. And so they wake up later. And when they would typically, one of the things I heard was, I can't possibly make it to a 9 o'clock appointment. And, we reminded the student, you remember that this appointment was already at 9 o'clock. The only thing we did differently was add a virtual link and told you to click onto your computer.
Yeah.
You were already making it to a 9 o'clock appointment. Yeah. But, to your point earlier, you talked about how the students don't know what day it is. They don't know, Saturday from Monday from Tuesday. And so I think that's happened a lot. And, I'm guilty of it as well. I definitely hit snooze a lot more. I wake up a lot later. And it's easy to kind of, be, business up top and party at the bottom, I think now. So,
right.
So that makes, planning for the next day a little bit easier when you don't have to pick out, a shirt and tie. All you got to do is pick out that shirt and you're good to go.
Yeah, I think that's true. And like I said, the structure's been hard for everybody, and it's a strange adjustment. Now, Dr. Messina, I know that you are, I assume you are doing Zoom classes. How are you doing your coursework?
Well, it's been a very, very interesting. The early curve of the people bombing into your class who didn't belong in your class was interesting. We all had those experiences, but it's gone along much, much better. And now that the semester is over, it's like one of those things in life. You want it's over. Hopefully it's over. Hopefully our plans to be back in the fall, everything back to normal has got us all excited. I'm excited about it. I'm ready to get back in my regiment.
No doubt. Now, most of our fans don't know this. You have the privilege of also serving on a pretty high level committee at the Ncaa. Will you share with everybody what that is and what your role is, and as much as you are able to share publicly, what you've been doing with that committee?
Well, you would say that is now my second job, full-time job. We are meeting quite regularly. Had a 7-hour Zoom
Tell
meeting.
Everybody the committee.
I am on the Ncaa football oversight committee. So our committee is now vehemently working to bring college football back as best we can. We have 6 or 7 committees that report and bring a lot of things to us as they analyze and do their work. We've got as you know, Mark, you're dealing with this. We got a whole slew of medical doctors from all over the country. We've got a whole slew of attorneys. We've got a whole slew of politicians, everybody trying to do what's best. I think we all know that college athletics plays a major, major role in society for people to understand and realize that. We realize it every day, but it plays a major role at our university. It plays a major role in so many things in life. And the driver in the fall is college football. And we're doing our best. I will tell you, every member, I have 15 of the football working conferences, an AD representative, and we have the Coaches Association, and we have, as I said, lots of experts in our meetings. We are meeting, I would say, quite easily 10, 15 hours a week and doing all we can do to bring college football back. So I hope I've given my old Dr. Messina views. You know how those are. Every one of y'all knows that. So, and doing my best to get it back. I would hope that we're moving forward and we can get to that point. And there is it's not just to say that you can bring college football back. That there is, as an AD, and there is an awful lot of things that have to go in before it comes back. And so we have been planning all these different aspects to try to get it back to that point. And everybody on the committee, and I don't say anything that's not right, everyone that's represented on the committee really wants college football to be back this fall and really wants all our sports to be back. And once football becomes the fall catalyst, hopefully everything comes back. And that's the hope.
Yeah, I think that you're right, Frank. And it's good to know for our fans to know that we got a man on the inside that's helping us get back on the field. So thank you for your hard work there and your effort. And I'll say too that in all the conversations that I've had with the ADs, we meet 3 times a week. Conference USA ADs do, and everyone is planning to play on time in the fall. That's where we are. While there would be contingency plans if circumstances change, we'll adjust. But I said to somebody in the media, I think it was a week or 2 ago, we were able to shut down the NCAA basketball tournament and all the conference basketball tournaments within a matter of hours. So we can make adjustments, and we've shown that when we have to be nimble, we absolutely can be nimble. And so we certainly don't have to make any decisions today on that creates finality. But as best I can tell, you're starting to see nationwide presidents say, as their states are opening up, presidents making comments like, we plan to be back in the fall and having students on campus. And so that's an encouraging and positive sign for everybody, regardless of what your job is and whether you like sports or not. It's really about, to your point, the number of people who are employed on a game day and what that does to infuse the economy in all of our college towns around the country. So it really is a nationwide issue that by bringing college football back, we do a lot to aid in our economy and help the unemployment rates and all sorts of things to assist in our communities. So thank you again. Now I want to shift off of work a little bit, and I want to hear about what projects you've been working on outside of work, to keep busy between those Zoom calls and conference calls, or maybe when you're on a conference call and you're more a participant than or you're more a listener than a participant. Ramone, what have you been working on there at the house? What have you been doing outside of work?
Well, you'll appreciate this, and I'm sure Frank will as well. So outside of the normal work day, I've worked on everything from first grade math. You see that was right here. So that's getting my youngest ready for kindergarten. And so I guess working 2 grades ahead and then everything in between. So Frank, do you recognize MBA 601?
Absolutely.
That is accounting for managers. So I'm back in school myself. And so finished up my first semester of graduate school. And then outside of that, yeah, thank you. Outside of that, trying to get any bit of sports I can in. And so I'll take the little guys out. We've got a court in the neighborhood that we'll go out and try to get some baskets up, or if it's playing virtually, we'll get on the video game and play PlayStation and get some basketball or football in that way. So trying to keep busy, but definitely have become more of a teacher as well as a student in every sense of the word. And so I truly can sympathize with our students as well as our professors on campus because I'm doing both now that COVID-19 has broke out.
Well, I tell you, I've done more yard projects in the last 6 or 7 weeks than I've done in 5 years. My wife has had me, planting plants and moving railroad ties around the yard and all kinds of stuff, and, hauling dirt around and, things that I've been basically putting off, saying, I'd love to do it, honey, but I just don't have the time. Finally, she's cornered me into making the time for that stuff. And I realize my hat's off to all of our parents and professors because we have 4 children at home, and I realize why I don't teach and why I'm not, why I send them to school. There's a good reason why I send them to school every day. I know that. What about you, Caitlin? What have you been working on?
So I've always enjoyed cooking. However, I have hated baking, and I'm not a baker. But for whatever reason, like once a week, I'm like, okay, I'll try this baking recipe, and I immediately regret it. It just never turns out the way I want it to. And I don't know why I do keep trying, but it's something to do. And so that's one thing I've been doing. Also, my fiance and I are still trying to plan a wedding for July.
God bless you.
So that's
Good
a
luck.
day by
Come
day
on.
basis. Lots of phone calls, lots of planning still. And as far as we know, it's still on, and that takes up a lot of our time.
Well, we're hoping for the best for both of you and your families. I know that that's difficult, and a lot of families have gone through that. People that had weddings planned during this time. I know a few others that have had to cancel, and I think you're right to hold on as long as you can. So good luck. I hope that you're able to do it. We'd love to be there. I know that.
Thanks.
Now, Frank, I can't help but notice where you are, but talk to us about what you've been doing outside of work.
Well, as you said, straight out of the gate, my wife had a list that she has added to for the past 32 years of marriage of projects that I needed to be doing, and ultimately began doing that list, and happened to have the opportunity to come down to our beach house in Florida, which is in a very, very safe county. We have only had one COVID case in the whole county.
Okay.
And that was detected. So for me, as a 57-year-old professor and probably needing to do a whole lot more exercise, and this was the place to be. So besides doing projects and being on all these various meetings and finishing class, the thing I've done, Mark, that I have to say the proudest for me is I'm back to exercising. That may sound weird. Walking, jogging, sit-ups, little weight things. And it's like you said, you don't know what day it is, sort of. You do because of all your meetings, but you've had an opportunity to do that. And here, unfortunately, our beaches had been closed forever. They just opened up this past week, and back to walking on the beach and catching crabs and getting shells and my little bit of spare time and getting my exercise in, walking the beach. So it's been a sort of a nice opportunity. We never get to come down here much, so this was great. Again, as Ramone said, the many classwork and schoolworks. I know, Mark, you and I both have high school seniors who lost an awful lot. I know we had student athletes that lost a season, but they all got those back from the Ncaa in terms of potential eligibility. But for our senior sons, it was tough for their seasons to end as well, having student athletes as well, and for them to not have proms and waiting to see about their high school graduation. There's been a lot of positive things and good things. I'm ready to get back in my routine with everybody. I'm ready to actually physically see everybody and hang around with everybody. So we miss it. We miss all the UAB fans too. We absolutely miss everyone and miss seeing everyone at those events. So I'm excited. I hope we're going down the right path now and it's getting better.
Yeah, I agree with you, Frank, on all those things. And my son, as you said, like yours, is a high school senior, and he said to me, he said, I hate, there's always all these activities that you do, your last semester of high school. Not that it's easy, but it's easier. You're the lights at the end of the tunnel, and I think there's a lot of social gatherings and celebrations and award ceremonies and things that, whether it's honor society or sports banquets or whatever, and it means a lot to you, when you're a senior, and you're right there. The high school kids aren't going to get that time back. And he said, I hate missing all that stuff. He said, the thing that I hate the most is that I didn't realize that my last day was the last day. Mm-hmm. And he said, my best friends I'm going to keep up with, but there's a lot of people that I really, really liked that I would have liked to at least say goodbye to and good luck, and which I thought was wise on his part to say, and really hit my wife and me, how difficult all this is. And yeah, he's a spring sport guy. Well, my son's a track athlete, so he's really a year-round competitor, but the outdoor track season is a big time for him. And last weekend would have been, in fact, this past Friday, Saturday would have been the state championship, and So we talked about that, those milestones, as I'm sure that you've been doing with your son. And so, we'll see if they have graduation. I hope for his sake. And I think probably as much as his mom, my wife and I, we want graduation to happen for pictures. Nothing else. We want some evidence that it actually happened, that the last 18 and a half years have culminated with something. So anyway, yeah, I know you're dealing with that too. So, all right, now true confession time. Who has watched all episodes of Tiger King? Raise your hand. Come on, Frank. Don't lie, Frank. Come on, Frank.
Pictures, but
Oh, Frank,
You
come
need to
on.
watch it.
Don't lie to us, Frank. We know.
Mark, I will confess, I got stuck on Netflix Parks and Recreation for quite a few episodes.
It's a good one.
So that's a funny one. That was a good one. So I kind of got stuck on that.
Who's your favorite character from Parks and Rec, Frank?
It's got to be the boss of the whole little area. Rob Lowe. Rob Lowe is a nut.
Oh, Rob Lowe's
He's a nut in that thing. He
All
is.
right, if you thought that if you had to pick one of those characters, which one of those people would you be, Frank? Who do you think is most like you?
Deep down inside, I'm the guy that plays on those Guardian of the Galaxies. What's his name? That wants to play the guitar. See?
Andy Dwyer is his name.
Andy Dwyer.
Yeah. How about you, Ramone? I've got an idea, Ramone, but I'm curious. Who do you think you are? If you had to be somebody on Parks and Rec, who are you?
You want to know what? I have not actually seen Parks and Rec. So, but I do know that Chris Pratt is on Parks and Rec because I follow Marvel. Because I'm a huge Marvel fan, I'm going to have to go with Andy Dwyer too because I absolutely think Chris Pratt is amazing.
Okay, but Caitlin. All right, so Caitlin, who are you? You get you're two-part for you, Caitlin. Who are you?
Okay, so I don't know who I would be, but one of my favorite characters on television of all time is Ron Swanson. I love Ron Swanson.
Yes.
He's pretty good. You could be Leslie Knope. I see you as a Leslie Knope.
Oh, yeah.
I'm actually reading Tina Fey's book, or not Tina Fey. What's her name? Amy Poehler's book right now. It's really good.
Yeah, is it really? Okay, but now part two is then since Ramone hasn't seen it, full disclosure, he is your supervisor, but who do you think Ramone is most like?
Oh, wow.
Let's just say Rob Lowe. Rob Lowe's character.
There's a guy who's well dressed, who starts a nightclub.
Oh, Aziz Ansari's character.
I think that.
That is who
Okay,
he is.
yeah.
Yeah.
I like Aziz too, so I think I'll take that.
Yeah.
I forgot about him.
This is Aziz's character for sure.
Oh yeah, his character's great.
Sadly, I don't think I'm any of those. I think I'm more of a Michael Scott from The Office. I think that's a little bit more who I am occasionally. Anyway, well, parting thoughts from all of you. I know that I speak for everybody in saying how much we appreciate all of our medical staff and our hospital. We're so lucky here in Birmingham to have UAB Hospital, and I know that everyone appreciates their hard work and the risk they take every day just going into the office. But aside from that, any parting thoughts from you, Ramone, as we leave today's Blazer Insider?
Yeah, no, I would say that, this experience has been extremely sobering. It's been very, self-reflective for myself. And so, my hat goes off. I commend all those frontline workers, from the people in the medical field and to the ones, I think that have been at the grocery stores. And, when we were running out of toilet paper and people were crazy and we had people stocking shelves, for some of us crazy people. And to know that there's lots of people who are not working right now and not able, to kind of be, I guess in the same position that we are to work remotely. And I've had students who've struggled with technology issues with trying to get coursework done. And so, it's very humbling to appreciate what I do have and be very thankful for those who are going without and figuring this out, without some of the luxuries. And so I just hopeful for a safe return, and just as everybody, can do their part to make this place better once we do get back.
Yeah, no doubt. How about you, Frank?
Mark, I just want to make a plea kind of to all the Blazer fans out there that, I've got my UAB basketball shirt on today, and we have a new basketball coach who showed up, and in the middle of all of this. And ultimately, he hasn't had the opportunity to go out there and get everybody excited. He's done it virtually, but I want the fans to relax, and I want the fans to get excited about UAB athletics. We truly, in this time, need you more than ever. Go out and buy your tickets for basketball and football and get ready and support everybody. And we really, really need our fans to be behind us. It's you can't just show it when it's game time. You need to show it year round. And we need our UAB fans to be ever loyal, ever faithful. Absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, Frank. No doubt. And one of our fans asked me yesterday, he said, what can I do as a fan? I said, have you renewed your season tickets? Have you renewed your season tickets? Can you just tell your friends to please renew your season tickets? We're going to, if somehow that we don't have football, we're going to renew them. But it certainly would be a big lift to know what we have and that we know our fans are coming back. So thank you for saying that. And we'll continue. We've got a whole staff of people reaching out to our fans, but thank you for that. And Coach Kennedy, we start this Thursday our first holding court with Andy Kennedy, and we're going to try to connect with a lot of our fans through Zoom or conference call, starting this, do a weekly call with Coach Kennedy so he can at least have a chance to speak virtually, although it's virtual, at least speak to all of our fans. So looking forward to that. Caitlin, how about you? Any parting thoughts for everybody?
Yeah, I just want to shout out our student athletes. I mean, it's so weird. Even last night, I had a dream that I was back being a student athlete, like a volleyball dream that I was playing. And there's some other former student athletes on here. It's just so much a part of your life, even when it's over. So I think they've done an incredible job in the classroom. I even have student athletes asking me what they can do from a community service standpoint in their hometowns or if they're still here in Birmingham. And I just think what they're going through is something that no one else has gone through, and just want to shout them out, and a great job adjusting and being adaptable to whatever is thrown at them.
Yeah, well, I agree. Well said. I can tell you, Caitlin, I occasionally have those dreams of being a student athlete again, and they almost always, even in the dream, involve a trainer. Really quick, one play and a trainer is always involved there. But so yeah, I've had those. Well, I can tell you, like everybody said, I have appreciated and enjoyed the time with my family, which has been more than I've had in ever. I mean, in 20 years, I haven't been able to spend as much time with my wife and my children like we have, and have all them together. And in a lot of ways, that's been a real blessing. But I too am ready to go back to work, and I know they're ready for me to go back to work. And I'm confident that we're going to get there soon. So from all of our Blazer employees and our entire athletic department, we thank our Blazer fans and appreciate everybody tuning in. I want to thank Ramone Cooper, Frank Messina, and Caitlin Callaghan. And thanks again, everybody. And we'll see you on the next Blazer Insider. Go Blazers.
Go Blazers.
Go Blazers. Thank you.
Blazers.